Welcome, everyone. We're so glad to see each and every one of you. I know many of you, so we're so glad to have you. My name is Amy Sullivan, and I'm the Interim Director of Library Services at West Kentucky Community and Technical College. And we are so grateful to McCracken County Public Library for allowing us to host this book discussion this evening. One of our partners, actually, in the One Book Read. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the One Book Read, just a brief history in case you don't know about us and how we started, if this may be your first one or if you've been with us for many years. We're so happy that you continue to participate, and those that are new, we're so glad you've joined us for this. We have been doing the One Book Read since 2008. And I was not able to be involved from the beginning because I haven't been there as long as some of our other participants and committee members, but I'm thrilled to have been, this is my second year as the co-chair of the One Book Read Committee, and I've been on the committee as well for 5 years now. And so it began in 2008, and we brought Homer Hickam, who is the author of Rocket Boys, to our campus. Originally, they wanted to bring him as a lecturer, and so it just kind of evolved from there. Melissa Duncan is our other co-chair of the One Book Read Committee. She is also the director of the Challenger Learning Center, and she was involved with Homer Hickam's visit in 2008 and 9. We do a One Book Read. It's a literacy initiative. It evolved from there, from Homer Hickam's visit. We promote reading and literacy through reading the same book all year long, and we start in our fall semester. And then the culminating event is when that author gets to visit campus. And it started as a campus read, but it evolved to a community read, and it is the One Book Read because all of the community participates now, just like you all. Our book clubs around town and in the area, our faculty and staff at the college, and just many people. Our high schools, our dual credit partners, the high school students, all the English classes read the book, and they discuss the book. We have many events all year round leading up to that culminating event when the author visits in the spring. And this year, our author, Conor Grennan of Little Princes, will visit our campus March 28th. And it's an evening event. We have an opening reception at 6 o'clock for him, and then at 7 o'clock he has a presentation followed by a book signing, and that's in the Clemens Theater on West Kentucky Community Technical College campus.
And it's free.
And it's free. And that's the wonderful thing. The best part about this literacy initiative is that it's free. Many of our students and our community members have never had the opportunity to meet and hear a best-selling author, much less for free. So it's just a fantastic opportunity, and we're so lucky to be able to bring that to Paducah. So we thank you all for participating, and I'm going to turn it over now to Kim Russell to introduce herself and talk about her involvement.
So my name's Kim Russell. I'm the chair of the English department at West Kentucky. And back in 2008, Melissa Duncan approached me about this idea of bringing Homer Hickam to our campus. And so I think my role was to kind of rally the English troops and get everyone, which if you know English teachers at all, getting them to agree on anything is not really a small order, but we really believed in the importance of this shared read. And I think going through that first one together and seeing just all the really neat events that went on along with that, and then being able to have this common dialogue across campus, and the fact that across the curriculum it could really feed into the discussion and be something that enriched our campus and our community, we really believed in it. So this is number 9. A group of 4 of us every year get together and we choose the book, which is we're in the midst of it right now. So
we do not know
every
yet.
time. No, we don't.
Everybody's been asking, and I know everybody's excited, but we have not reached that decision just yet.
When the topic comes up, we just.
We consider all suggestions that we receive. Yes, ma'am.
It's all over but the show.
Oh, that was one we considered a few years ago, in fact. Anyway.
But that's what I suggested last year.
Yes, ma'am. I remember.
Yes. So we get a lot of suggestions. So we probably read 60 or 70 to narrow it down. I read 4 last week.
It's a lot of reading.
And so the selection criteria, it's really kind of an interesting thing. Obviously, the author needs to be not dead. because that is really important. Not dead is pretty much criterion number one. So like a few years ago, one of my committee members, she fell in love with the book Cold Sassy Tree. And she adored it. And Cold Sassy Tree, yes. And then she came to a meeting and was absolutely and utterly destroyed to discover that all of Ann Burns was in fact dead. So alive is our top criterion. Then we prefer American, obviously, because we pay their travel expenses. It needs to be something that appeals to everyone from a sixth grader to, a non-sixth grader. I was trying to think of the nicest way to say that. So, just very universal, appealing, and hopefully appropriate for multiple generations. Something that we feel like, can be, has a lot of inroads across the curriculum that we can do a lot of neat things with, like we did this book. And we'll kind of talk about some of the reasons that we chose this. We also look at, will they fit our budget? John Grisham is $125,000 an hour.
Out of our range.
And then we did get David Baldacci, yes, a few years ago. Yes.
David Baldacci was kind of a fluke, but just wonderful luck that we got to bring him.
Yeah,
so.
We kind of stumbled on that. We've had Jeanette Walls and David Baldacci and Garth Stein and, I'm trying
Christina
to think.
Baker Klein.
And the Silas House, some of you may be familiar with him. So we've had some wonderful things over the years. And then one of the most important things to us is that our author will come and will relate well with us and with you and with our students. And someone who likes to talk to people and realizes that we've invested a year in this book, and so many of us will feel very connected to it by the time we finish reading, and so we want them to come here and be nice and sober, which
so that's part of the criteria as well. We could like something all day long, but
the
if they can't
process.
talk to the exactly.
We're so picky. Not dead.
Yep.
Sober. Nice.
Well, and something too is the length of the book. We want our students especially to participate, and they do write about it in all the classes. And
so it needs to be at least somewhat literary in some sense, hopefully, but also entertaining, because for a lot of our students, this is the first and maybe only book that we'll ever read. And so we figure that, my gosh, if this is the one chance we have for you to read a book, we want it to be a darn good one. So we think about that. So Little Princes, about 18 months ago, one of our committee members had read this with his children, and he was just very inspired by the story. And then the fact that it was a true story, it was very compelling to him. So he suggested that we all take a look at Little Princes, and this was the first nonfiction piece that we have ever taken a look at as a college. And that's kind of a big deal, because the English 101 faculty, we write a literary analysis. So doing nonfiction was this big, scary jump for us. But we felt really moved by the story. We felt like the chance to learn about Nepal and the culture and the people and the wars, all of those things, we felt like that was something really important that we could bring to our community. And the issue of human trafficking, unfortunately, that seems like something very timely, and it's not something that a whole lot of people are aware of. And this gave us an opportunity throughout this year to talk about that, and not just in foreign countries, but right here in our backyard. So, we have a...
I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
So we talked about events that we have along the year leading up to that. So one of them was a wonderful panel discussion that Kim set up at our campus regarding human trafficking and how it does affect people in our own area. Actually, we had a panelist from the Victory House. It's Victory Through Grace Ministries here in Paducah that has a home called the Victory House for women who are victims of trafficking. And it's a restoration home. They live there, and there are many things that they need for these women, and they counsel them and until they are ready to go, back into their jobs or their lives. So that's here right in our own community, and it was a wonderful, eye-opening experience to know that we have something like that here that we can help. And the committee actually decided to help support that in relation to this effort. We actually are starting, and we're going to start campaigning about this very soon, a collection for Victory House, some items that this house needs that we're going to try to collect and bring to the author event in March, at the end of March, and we'll talk about that later. So.
Yeah, if you have any Tide laying around.
Laundry detergent, toilet
laundry
paper.
Detergent is something that they need a whole lot.
Yes.
But yeah, so it gives our students in our community an opportunity to learn about these issues and to be of service. If nothing else, I think that probably a lot of us were very inspired to do more and to make more of a difference and to find ways that we could contribute. And not all of us are going to be able to drop everything and go start an orphanage in Nepal, but I think that there are some things that we can do. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the reasons that we chose this. We just felt like it had so much to offer, more than just an entertaining read, but something that could really be transformative. And then they'd have the opportunity to meet Conor, and especially, our younger students who are coming into these times in their lives where they're going to make some big decisions and have some opportunities. And we want them to know, that these things are possible, that you can go from being, a self-centered kid to someone who really is using your talent to make a difference in the world. So we're really eager, though, to hear what you thought about the book and what you have to say about it.
Who wants to start? Anybody? Have just an
overall. We have some specific things.
Has everyone read it?
Yeah. Who's read it?
Who has not read it, I guess, is more. Okay. Haven't finished? Okay.
I read it last fall, and then I read it again this past.
Yes.
I need to read.
I will reread
Yes.
before he comes. Yes.
All those names and places. Woo!
Yes.
Go back to get, so I read it again.
Did anybody see the movie?
The Highway to Damascus, yeah.
So Highway to Damascus or Dampus, I never know how to pronounce it, was a movie that we did screen at the beginning of February at Maiden Alley Cinema. We offered a free event for the public to come. It was not the book itself. It was not based on the book, but it was so similar in theme to the book and showed so much of the country of Nepal, the culture of Nepal, orphan children. It was just a remarkable parallel to the book that we really wanted to show something like that, and I think it was something everyone really enjoyed. And if you ever get an opportunity to watch that film, it was wonderful. So that is something we did.
Yeah, I think visually that was really helpful because Nepal felt very foreign. Yes. As I was reading, from the food to the toilets to the living conditions, it felt extremely foreign. So I think having the film really, for me anyway, gives more of a picture of what we're really looking at.
Big picture of their culture, just their sereneness, and they say namaste, they mean it. It's not just something cute you wear on a shirt because you're going to yoga. But I enjoy that. And that they used Nepalese actors, and they were in the country, so I think it gave you a big impression of.
Yeah.
Well, you reminded me, there's so much suffering in Nepal, and the book really goes deeply into that. Because they had a civil war, a very bloody civil war, that lasted for 10 years until, I think, 2006. And, there was, the numbers are hard to come by, but at least 10 or 12,000 people were killed in the Civil War. Families were broken up, and all of these children were orphaned, maybe tens of thousands of children. And so for our students, or for all of us, to read about the kind of things that these people went through, and these are people who already, in terms of our land of plenty, really had nothing to start with. So it really has opened the students' eyes again and again and again, I taught a couple of sections of composition where we read the book, and student after student would say, I just had no idea how much we have, how blessed we are. So it's a sensitizing read and an eye-opener for many of us. And I heard other students talk about, as you said, the possibility of a career in service to other people occur to them for the first time. Well, you know, those kind of decisions that you make at 18 and 20 will change the course of your life.
Absolutely.
So that's powerful, and it's because they were moved emotionally by the book. You have the first.
A civil war between what factions over 10
Well,
years?
there was an oppressive king. There was a monarchy that for decades has been like a dictatorship.
Who, by the way, the United States supported.
Yeah.
Well, because they were being opposed by Maoist communist rebels. And so, as we often do, we would get on the side of the dictator to help oppose the communist aggression.
Yeah, the Maoists are definitely kind of portrayed as the enemy. Like when Conor is going through the mountains and he is in some of those precarious situations, it's the Maoists who.
They threaten him at every turn, almost.
Yes.
And they're bloodthirsty. They're ruthless. They won the Civil War, and the current government is much more democratic. So in the end, you know, there was a positive outcome to the Civil War.
Well, these boys weren't orphans. So that's kind of
Yeah,
a twist. That's kind
A
of
couple of them
war, but for the
most
most
of them
part,
were
they had been.
trafficked by the.
Yeah, and I wondered
So you maybe want to explain that.
what everyone thought of that. You know, that we discover later on in the book when the mother shows up to a couple of these boys, that the parents had willingly turned their mostly sons over to a trafficker. I don't think obviously that they knew he was a trafficker, because they believed that was the only way to keep them out of the war, because apparently these Maoists would come in and try to take children as soldiers. So they, you know, felt like this was the way to save their children. And I wondered what, because Conor, I think, is very shocked by this. And I think even at some point he's a little angry. So I wondered what you observed about
you were
that.
gonna say.
I was going to say that's one of the many ways that are related to the book. As a mother of young children, I think that had to be such a difficult decision for the parents to make. They felt desperate, and I forget the gentleman's name, Golka, or the main trafficker,
Yes.
who came into these remote villages or had people come in, and I mean, if they're explaining it, the opportunity sounds great. A lot of those parents hadn't even been to Kathmandu or had seen.
It's very
Let them
isolated.
out.
That's a really good point.
So they thought they were doing the best thing, and that was a hard read when Conor first went to those villages, and he almost scolded the parents that first interaction
Yes.
where he found them. And he's not a parent, although he does become a parent at the end. But at that point, he's not. And I don't think, and he realized it too, that he had the insight to make that decision.
And like maybe, I think it was maybe the first couple that he found that they had the children back in Little Princes, and the parents were like, "But, you know, it is okay. They are being fed. They are being educated. And that's the reason we opened it up."
Fortunately,
But
yeah.
it was fortunate that happened, but the parents were kind of like, "Well, why should we want to take them back?
They're doing great.
They're doing great.
They're doing
Yeah.
great. Yes, and it's kind of like, well, I'll sacrifice my time with them if that means that they're safe and they're fed and educated. And my goodness, one thing that I really found compelling was this journey, and not just the physical journey that Conor makes, but this journey to and this transformation. that he makes. And you said namaste, and I love how there are still, some elements of humor. I think that that's really important here, because otherwise this would be maybe a bit exhausting to read. But I love how he explains to us just some of this culture shock and adjusting to this new thought, and how he's saying namaste to everyone, which doesn't really mean hi, how you doing? It's I salute the God within you. Yeah. And they're just so accepting of him. Bless his heart.
They are. It was a culture shock, and
But he took a spiritual journey too.
Absolutely.
Yes, he did.
I think transformed.
Not just the cultural, but spiritual.
So let's
I think that was a little
backtrack.
bit
When
of
he
ultimatum
started out,
with his girlfriend.
if you all remember, he
She
wasn't
gave an ultimatum.
going
He
to
knew he
do
had to.
what he ended up doing. He was going. He remembers why he was going. That's kind of the funny part to begin with.
Make it
How-
sound so selfish that he was just going to travel the world.
Right.
Yeah, this was an adventure.
Yes, it was an adventure. It was something that the ladies would probably like to see, and he was cool. And
I mean, seriously,
yeah.
how that would definitely impress a woman in a bar.
Sure.
I work with orphans in
yes.
Nepal.
Going to volunteer.
I mean, that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's huge.
Absolutely.
Score one for you. Of course. And then he gets there, and we have that section where they're doing the orientation, and they demonstrate how to use the toilet
Yep.
in Nepal.
That's an
And then he
eye-opener.
learns about dalbat, which we will be serving
Yes.
at the reception.
That was a secret. No,
I'm
it's
sorry.
No, it's not. It's not.
Utensils, or do we have to?
I'm sure you have the option of both.
Yes, yeah.
But
so-
to experience what Connor did, we should probably not use the utensils.
Yeah, and just
Have very much nutrition.
no, I don't imagine the nutrition is great.
Well, I mean, the lentils would have been protein and the rice carbohydrate.
And they had the grass, the green, the spinach, the greens.
Yes,
and
yes, they did.
Very healthy.
But basically, according to the book, they ate the lentils with rice every night.
I know that India is to the south, so it's India.
Then Nepal.
Then Nepal, then Tibet.
Yes,
To
yes,
the north of Nepal.
yeah.
Because right there, you're on the Chinese border.
What, India's to the south, what's to the north of, what'd you say? Oh, Tibet is to the north.
Yes.
Tibet's north.
Oh,
And then
People- I
since
think
China's
they
taken
came
over
into
Tibet,
Yeah.
effectively.
Yes, I believe so. I believe
Chinese.
so.
Hundreds of years ago, that they came from Tibet into Nepal, I think.
So, yeah, it's this, and I think, probably most of us relate to who Connor is in the beginning. And, then he gets to this orphanage. And I thought we could talk about that for a minute, just what his reaction was when his first day at Little Prince's.
I remember.
A lot of the comedy of the book has
Yes.
to do with his, and he's such an American, and we can identify with him completely.
Absolutely.
But the kids are just educating him every 5 minutes. He's learning something new.
Yes.
It sounded exhausting to me. It just really did. I have one child, and that's enough.
He had many.
And so all of a sudden he's this single bachelor having an adventure, and he's tackled by all these kids, and they all look alike.
Yep.
And they just want his attention, and they love him so much. And I felt very overwhelmed
Yes.
for him. Like, oh my gosh, you're going to be so tired. You'll sleep good tonight, Connor. And I think he wondered, how on earth will I make it through this time with these kids? What am I doing? And I loved that they tease him because he can't remember their names. And yeah, I thought that was great. Yeah, so let's talk about some of that time in the orphanage. What stuck out to you?
I think that they were so easygoing and accepting, and the kids, they just kind of went with it.
They seemed happy, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what struck me. I think it's odd that they seemed happy, because I'm thinking they don't have their parents there, or, and same food every
They don't have their
meal.
parents and they're eating Dahlbot. I
Yeah,
mean, really?
all the time, every meal.
And I'm like,
And even the founder, several of the other volunteers, and the founder herself would make the comment, the children will always be all right, or the children will always be okay. And I thought, what an interesting.
but I guess that children are resilient.
They
so
are, and that's what they know.
And it becomes normal.
And it's
That's
normal.
what normal is.
And if their immediate needs are being met, food, shelter, clothing, you
That's
know,
right.
they were thriving and getting attention as well, positive attention. So
That's right.
the children are very resilient.
Well, in the movie,
despite all the major loss.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
in the movie, the celebrity brought them stuff, remember, that they couldn't even use.
Yes.
Computers and stuff.
Yeah, they did, yes.
I mean, they didn't have anything, and she's trying to bring them computers, and she had to kind of stop and think about that, so that's kind
They
of.
just had no concept. So books were so much more, they were just so excited in this movie about books because
But then
that
they
is
were
a
really
treasure.
excited when she brought them the toys.
Yes, toys and.
Yeah, because they were, yeah.
So they
It was
were-
toys that they could play.
Yes, so they were thrilled that Connor was there at all, you know.
It made me think about the shoe boxes that a lot of us do at Christmas, you know, and you
we
think,
send overseas.
I would have my daughter would come in and pick things out for me, and she's like, "This is all these kids are gonna get, really." And, you know, just imagining and thinking that maybe there are children like these in Nepal who would get these shoe boxes and what it would do for them.
So to them, that would be enough, because, I mean, they haven't been exposed to anything else
Right.
like, you know, our kids have. And so, I mean, you know, like a little piece of candy or a doll or, you know, a pencil.
Anything.
To them would be just like, oh my gosh, this is the best
Yeah.
thing ever.
They could play with it all day
Yeah.
long, I'm sure.
But, you know, and I was so busy kind of feeling bad for these kids and, oh, this is such a sad life. And then we meet the other children who were not fortunate enough.
Who were actually starving.
Right.
Yes. So, yeah, they were sold to people. They were like, do you remember the story at the end where, is it the banker?
Yeah.
Yes.
Won't let the little boy
Because he actually
go
owned it.
because he owned
Yeah.
him. Yeah, and you don't think, oh gosh, the little boys at Little Princess were the lucky ones.
Right.
And I think it's these, was it 7 children?
Yes.
Who
7.
really set things in motion
Right.
for Connor. Yeah, and that's when,
I think the thing that got me, the child trafficker, I'm not sure how they pronounced his name, Golka or something like
Yeah.
that. He had, of course, I know this happens all over the world. He had friends in high places who they knew he was trafficking children,
Right.
but the government did nothing about it. He got by with it. And for us, that's just unbelievable because there's no
Regulation.
or organization or anything over there that keeps children from falling through the cracks.
not really.
And we're like, well, in America, we put him under the jail. You know.
No protective services.
Right.
No.
But that he had friends in high places who knew what he was doing was wrong, but he could still get by with it.
That's one of those reasons that I think it's really important for people,
The
you know, and I'm
difference in
thinking
the
about our
culture.
college students especially, to read things like this and know that the rest of the world doesn't function the way that we do. And, you know, that we apply our set of values and this is what happens and, you know, and we
And Connor
forget.
was like that. It's like, well, why don't they arrest him and
Yes.
put him in jail?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense. So, the 7 children, and he, I think, is just devastated by their suffering. And so he almost has two missions, 2 quests here, 2 huge things that he's doing. So he wants to find those 7 children and give them a home, and then also track down the parents of the other boys.
Huge undertaking. That's what, back to the, we just can't fathom what this was. There's no communication. You know, this whole journey when he was trying to figure this out, how long this took to figure out who the parents were and who belonged to who and what happened and how he interviewed all of these parents and each child trying to figure out, put together the story. They don't have a way to communicate. There's no Google, there's no phones that everybody can talk to each other and piece this together. He's doing it all himself. It was a huge, massive undertaking.
And there are no roads?
No roads. Travel was.
Walking those paths.
I think
along
It's,
cliffs.
yes,
The only
there's no
thing-
easy travel.
The only way I was able to relate to it at all and connect at all with any of that feeling was those first couple of days after the ice storm. You know, when we really couldn't go anywhere and we didn't know what was happening.
Out in the outside world.
Yeah, there were no computers, there was no phone. Thank goodness we had Channel 6 on the radio. Otherwise, we would have had no idea. Now that's gone. What will we do if there's another ice storm? I don't know.
So
But
when,
still, that's nothing compared to that.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But that's the only time I've ever had an experience even remotely similar to any of that isolation and just the not knowing and it's a little bit chaotic and you know, just not knowing if you'll go to the gas station and if they'll even have gas or if they'll
Right.
have to line up for 2 hours, and we're not used to living in that kind of world at all.
Oh, the winter's moving in. He's out there in the mountains stranded.
yes.
If he doesn't get a helicopter back to Kathmandu,
I was so nervous.
yeah.
Can you imagine?
I'm glad that
There's
He was hurt.
one flight, and if you miss that flight,
Happens.
forget it, for the rest of the winter,
Yeah.
you're stranded.
Yeah.
I was very just captivated at that
That's why
point.
it's a page turner.
It is.
That's one thing that makes it a really good read.
And for him to go back too. I mean, you know, this was, I don't know that I could do that. And it was just
No.
life-changing. Like you said, for him, it's just this transformation. He was compelled to go back and this became his mission he knew now how many people, how many children were going through this. And he just made this his life's work now. He still does this. So and we'll talk about that too. What he does now.
Yeah, I don't think that the children really expected him to come back. I think that they have these volunteers who go in and out of their lives and expected him to be temporary, and they'd enjoy him while they could, and that was again part of their normal that people come and go and we love them and they leave. And so for him to come back, I think that was huge. That was, you know, not the norm. And that kind of brings me to thinking about Fareed and some of the other characters. I wonder if there were other characters that you really kind of gravitated toward or really liked.
I like Liz.
I like Liz. She's a very
Yeah.
Sort
Yeah.
of courtship by email.
There's romance.
Yes, there's romance in the middle
Which
of
for
all
the
of it.
students, of course, especially, there's the suspense of a romance
That helps.
may or may not unfold, and that really kept people
Yes.
interested too.
There was romance, there was mystery.
It has it all,
You were
really.
trying to find the parents.
Right.
Connect the children to the parents.
I think that's why we were okay to do a true story with this one, because my goodness, I don't
It reads
even know
like a
that you
novel.
could. It does.
It
It
reads
reads
like a
like a novel. I imagine what happened was people were like, "You should write a book. This story is just crazy. You should write a book."
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I loved Liz. Why did you like Liz?
Well, of course, because of her warm heart, first and foremost. I felt sad for her, for she was carrying some guilt regarding her divorce, thinking, that she just maybe wasn't quite up to par. But she really had the best interests of the children at heart and was willing to work very hard and be an incredible person to make incredible things happen.
Yeah, we talked about the fact that just the experience with the country and the children and all of that was a big source for his transformation. But I think that a lot of that is really due to her influence on him as well. Did you
There was
notice
a little
that?
episode, not about Liz, but about Conor, that I thought was so amusing, and it was just a trivial part of the book, but about customs in our country, especially out in Grand Canyon, the mule trails. When the mules come down the trails, the hikers must take the outer part you are not allowed to go to the wall. So what we would always do just be sit down, as it seemed to be a good way, and have your feet over the edge.
Wow.
But in this one, as the goats came,
They had to cling to the wall.
they had to cling to the wall, and then someone accused Conor jokingly of climbing it like a monkey, but wouldn't you?
I was so uncomfortable during all of that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and the fact that the people who lived in that area, and they were just, you know, like, they're like walking on the ground.
We won't fall.
Right.
You will
Yes.
fall.
Yes.
We will fall.
And the description of the goat herd, who I had the inkling that he was very young, and he's behind them yelling at them to move and everything, and more than likely barefoot. But that did remind me of Native American children I have seen running down the trail in Grand Canyon with rocks going over and over and just
I don't think we can talk
running,
about
just kicking up the dust. So I guess if you're mountainous, whether you're in Nepal or the United States of America, and you grow up with that, you have abilities that most of us do not have.
No. I'll tell you though, you know, for him to have put himself through that, that was just a miserable trip.
I just never knew from one day to the
goodness.
next what his challenges would be.
Yes, and why, you know, to believe in something that much, to put yourself through that, you know, your cushy little American self through that truly for other people. You know, I thought that was amazing.
Well, another character I thought was really interesting, I don't remember now the name of the guy, but he worked, I guess, for the government or something.
Oh.
And he was just always so busy. There was
Guyan, was it Guyan?
Yes.
Yes.
And they'd go to see him, and his office was full of people wanting his help, and he always managed to help in some way. And so I guess he was some kind of civil servant, what we would think of as a civil servant, probably like our civil servants didn't get paid very much. But
I think he was stretched very thin.
But I mean, he seemed to be dedicated to the children.
Well,
I
loved. Oh, go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
He's like a child welfare
I think
worker
so.
for the state.
Right.
I loved that moment where the banker won't surrender his slave, and Mr. Guyan just calls his pal the mayor, and
No, it wasn't Diane. It was Jackie.
it was the Umbrella
Yes.
Foundation. Yes.
He called the
So
mayor.
there are some.
And Conor was actually fighting him. Now, you know, in that situation, and holding him, trying to keep him from getting out the door. And Jackie was the one who called the mayor. One guy.
But it does make you wonder. It makes you think about what if these people from other places hadn't come in and cared enough to do these things. You know, you had the Irish woman, the Americans, the French, who care enough about other human beings. You know, doesn't matter where you live and what language you speak, but you're a human being, and I want to help you, you know, and I'm very glad that people do that. That was another thing, another event that we had on campus this year. We invited some people who had done some international service to come in and share that with us. And so several of our students every year go to Costa Rica, and they work in orphanages. They do it for a week.
They do it spring break.
They
It's
get
coming
their
up
spring
very
break
soon,
for
and
that.
they'll do it again this year.
Yeah, it's through Starfish, and so they were able to share that and what motivated them to do that, and they do. And if you've been to college, my gosh, spring break is precious.
It is.
It's precious time, and that's kind of a thing now where people do service on their spring break, and I'm awfully glad that that's a thing people do.
Me too.
Another interesting thing I thought was the different faiths that work together so well, instead of being at each other's throat. The Buddhists, the Christians, the Hindus.
That's right.
Yes.
Their focus was on helping
Because most of the children were Hindus, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
Yes, because Conor ate their god.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I don't have hamburgers.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you don't eat our God.
But then
Sacred cattle.
Buddhist, and Anna was a Buddhist, and
Yes.
then he eventually came back to
Liz.
Christianity.
Right.
But they all worked together.
And respect each other.
And focused on the children instead of trying to promote their particular thing.
Right.
And I liked that.
Yeah, that was great.
You see, there's so many wonderful themes and subjects to write about and talk about in this book. That's another reason. There's so many directions to go and think about. It's just a wonderful story. So we are very excited that the author's coming. We want to hear his true story in person. We're so excited about him coming, and I hope you all can join us. I just want to remind you, March 28th, don't forget. And back to that culture, we are going to serve food from Nepal. Jessie Donaldson is our caterer down at Kitchens Cafe, and she is fantastic and is preparing a wonderful menu. So I can't wait for you all to try it. It's going to be really good.
There will be things other than
Yes, there will be other items, but
all sort of
opportunity to try it.
Nepali in theme. So
And don't forget your thanks for the victory course.
Yes.
yes.
Oh,
So you want them to bring them that night?
yeah. We are actually going to be collecting items for the Victory House up until that night, but that night we thought would be just be able to be stuck in people's minds to aim for that date. Certainly, we're going to have a large place to put items
So you
there.
have a list of what you need?
We do, and we will be sending all that information out constantly very soon on our website. But the items are toilet paper, laundry detergent, dishwasher detergent, and there's a fourth, Melissa, that they really have top needs, fabric softener sheets. So those are items we're collecting. Very easy to just grab an extra when you're picking yours up. So we would appreciate everyone helping. Just one item would be fantastic.
Where do you bring them?
You can bring them to our campus at the library. We have a collection box there. We have them in several buildings. The Anderson Technical Building. We're going to have it in 4 locations
And
until
that
then. But in that night, the Clemens Center is where we'll be, and we'll have places to put everything that night.
Toilet paper, detergent, dish soap, fabric softener, and then I think she mentioned toiletries as well. didn't
Yes,
she?
toiletries are always appreciated. Those other items were the top ones, but yes, I'm sure that if
Like toothbrush, toothpaste?
Toothpaste,
any of that stuff.
shampoo.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that probably anybody who has had a chance to read this, it does. My students, it's so funny. They write a lot of compare contrast papers looking at Conor and who he was in the beginning, and then this transformation and who he is in the end. And they tend to be a little judgy about him in the beginning, that he seemed a little lazy and maybe a little selfish and a little self-centered and maybe materialistic and all those things. But I think, truth be told, more of us are a little more similar to Conor and who he is in the beginning than who he is at the end. And I think that it is really inspiring to see him develop that servant's heart and to be able to do that. So one thing that he talks about in the book is his putting together of the Next Generation Nepal Foundation. Did you all get a chance to read about that at all? Yeah.
So that's his organization that he began as a result of this whole experience, and he continues to reconnect children with their families through this organization. The website, if you're interested in learning more about it, is nextgenerationnepal.org. That is their mission, to reconnect children with their families. And so they search for families of displaced children, and they work to reunify them. They believe in strengthening the government and people of Nepal to prevent child trafficking into children's homes and to support those who have already been trafficked. They work very closely with government stakeholders and district child welfare boards with embassies and tourists. So they have all kinds of information, wonderful ways you can support them if you're interested in that. But that is his organization, and I know he'll talk to us about that night on March 28th. And I'm really excited to hear what all they've done through that organization.
There's a Facebook page.
It's fantastic. Oh, and they have a Facebook page too, yes.
Yes, and speaking of Facebook pages, so do we.
We do.
So-
We do have a Facebook page.
One book, one reader in West Kentucky.
Our West Kentucky website has an event page for us.
The West Kentucky Facebook page. You'll see on the side it says events, and you click on that. We're the top one there, and it just lists a lot of things. We have some contests going on right now. We're giving away books with trivia questions, so make sure to check that and like our page and say you're going to attend, and you'll be in with the scoop on
So
things.
what is the name of the Facebook page? West Kentucky?
It's just the WKCTC.
It's just-
If you go to
Yes.
Facebook and search WKCTC,
Then you'll go to events on the side.
yes. And so we realized creating an event through that page was probably the smartest way to do it, but that'll keep you up to date. And I am hoping that maybe pretty soon. Last year we unveiled the new book the day after. Christina Baker Klein was here.
That was the first time we had done it like that.
That may happen again.
We have a
I don't know.
goal. We're hoping to do that this year. We can't
But
promise.
last year it wasn't Christina. Ron Rash.
I'm
Ron
sorry, Ron
Rash.
Rash.
It was-
So
oh.
sorry. I was
They kind of
Ron Rash.
all run together.
Ron
for me
Rash,
at
yes.
some point.
We announced the next day on our website. So that's our hope for this year. We don't know yet, though, I will say that. But we have a month. That's a long time. It's all good.
It is. Who knows how many books we could read?
We
in
could
a
read
month.
between now and then.
Yes. So
We have some contenders.
we have a short
doing okay.
list.
Yes.
We have a short list. Unfortunately, here's what happens is we'll have a short list and then someone will say, I read this one great book, now everybody needs
And
to
then we
read
digress.
it. And then it becomes a candidate, so.
Yeah.
yes.
It's tough. Even
We're
with just
getting
a
there.
small committee, it's really, really tough. So I'm
There's
sure
just so many great books out there.
there are.
You know, and to get to pick one a year, oh my goodness.
Well,
But
it's interesting when you came up with Orphan Train. I had actually read that several years before.
right.
I went back and read it again, but
Yes.
it's been several years since I read it.
Well, it's a big and wonderful responsibility because we have, now such this wonderful following in our community, and we feel like it is something really important that our college can contribute. But my gosh, it's exciting, but then you want to pick the right thing. And there's nothing more wonderful than when a student comes to you and says, oh, I'm so glad we got to read this book. It was so wonderful. Of course, then you have the ones that say, what idiot decided that we...
You can't please everyone. We know that, and that's just
No.
part of it.
No. But we've got some very interesting and very diverse options for next year, and you'll see those. Hopefully, you'll see that selection if you check back on that Facebook page or our
Yep.
website.
Yes.
So,
And we would love to, even tonight before you leave, to get people's emails if they're willing, because we'd love to put you on a list. We're trying to collect that information to get you all more informed, keep you all more informed on things. So,
Well, another thing that I thought was real interesting in this book was Conor finally realized that you couldn't just find the parent and take the child and put them back together.
Right.
No.
It was a process.
It is a huge process. It
They had
still
to
is.
Relearn each other.
oh yeah. Yeah, and a lot of these children, I think, really did think their parents were dead. Yeah, and that was a heartbreaking scene when it turned out that some of them, when they had to find out that that would be so hard when they're getting these files and photographs, and then there were children who there was nothing to give them. That was.
Conor is hard charging, an American, can do, we're going to do it now, and we're going to get these kids together, and gradually his eyes are opened. The world really doesn't work that way.
Right.
You can't go in and overnight wave a magic wand and all the problems go away and
Happen in Nepal time.
Right.
that's it.
Yes.
Well, it rolls passage about the bananas where he describes Nepal time and
Oh,
talking to
yeah.
the shop owner. And the shop owner's like, you can taste the bananas. How does that taste? Like describing, that he
Yes, I got
has
you the bananas. Yes,
really
I told you I'd get you the bananas today. The
What
bananas are
bananas?
here. The bananas are here.
They're in your
Taste
hand.
them.
What was that detail? There was another, and you all will probably remember this because it's coming back to me. Something about the blankets in the new home, and there was a blanket maker. What was
And they would
the?
come around and fluff them.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
And I just remember thinking, we're so used to this very disposable society. You pop into Walmart, you buy one, and then if it gets yucky,
You just get a new one.
you wash it, you throw it in your washer, or my gosh, you pass it down.
Right.
You
And
throw it away and find it.
Right.
exactly, and it's just a total change in mindset.
So had that cotton had the hole removed? They had the cotton, they made
It
the
wasn't
sack.
cotton. It wasn't cotton, was it?
I think
I
it was
don't
spoke of as cotton.
remember.
Maybe
I
don't remember
referred to
either.
it as cotton.
I just remember the
And
blanket
then-
thing was a
okay,
strange
so
detail
let's
for
just
me.
say fluff.
Yeah.
Okay, so then as it would become matted, when the man came by.
He would
and
comb your
had the-
blanket, right?
He had an instrument that had one wire, like a one-stringed harp, is how it was spoken of. So, then did he play the harp? What did he do with that one string? I think he was sort of a
Magician?
no, cunning. Because he dumped all the fluff onto the ground, and then he did his little magic trick with his one string, and then he put all the fluff back into the thingy,
It was a back to cotton, you're right.
and then it was ready to go again. So it made me wonder, was just taking it out and did any of you wonder about that? Taking it out and putting it back in? Did
I
that
was just
fluff it
mystified by the
up?
whole process.
And why could they not just shake it to fluff it like we
But that
used
was
to
his
do in
job.
this country with feather beds?
He had to make it mysterious, so that's his job.
That's a
It
good
was,
point.
and I
think
didn't
it was
notice
like
it
that
said small fee.
The string.
The small
They
thing,
knew it was
yes.
coming because they would hear that string and
He
they
would,
would play.
oh yes, could it have had something to do with the vibrations of the cotton would fluff up when it had the vibrations? I thought that was
But, like,
most
that's
interesting.
It's just the magic of Nepal. That's
In
all.
the same vein,
I think they were
the kids' favorite toys were from the junkie.
I just looked at it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I love
Everything
that.
was recycled.
Of course.
Everything had to be used until it just
Fell apart.
disintegrated. And they made toys out of old oil cans and plastic bottles.
And they were happy.
And they were quite happy
Then
with it.
didn't Connor bring all of them, little cars that lasted
One day.
one day?
One day.
Or maybe
I
not even the whole
think,
day.
exactly. Yeah.
One thing I had to keep reminding the students of is that it's not to condescend, that these people had a very intact culture. They were very spiritual people. They were very fulfilled in many ways that Americans aren't, who have everything.
Right.
So you see that it doesn't take everything we have
No.
to make a complete person.
That's right.
I don't think that dawned on many young people. And we emphasize that in our classes.
And I think Connor learns what matters too.
Exactly. Priorities.
He
Yeah,
does.
they definitely had minimalism down.
Yeah, they did.
But
They did.
that's what the
Foreign
Buddhists
concept
teach
to us.
anyway, too, isn't it?
Minimalism.
Yes, they
Yes,
do.
you keep trying to move forward to reduce your attachment
To material
to
things.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I have to say though, I did want to find Fareed a girlfriend. I really did.
Oh, yeah.
He just seemed
Poor
so
Fareed.
nice.
Yes, he is so sweet.
Yeah, I did. I just.
Sort of along those same lines in the movie, the one line that stuck out to me was when, right before, and I forget the character's names now, but the orphanage keeper, the lady.
Yes.
She
I can't
says
remember
to
her name.
him, everything is a big thing to me.
Everything.
Because that one point where the British girl puts her arm around
And that got her so upset.
It did.
Meant nothing to them.
nothing,
Right.
it was just a little thing
Yeah.
to them, but she said
It's just
everything.
everything to them.
She was the
Right.
one who was a Buddhist nun, wasn't she?
I don't know if she was a Buddhist nun or she had lived her whole life at the orphanage.
She lived her whole life
at the-
I don't think they changed.
Right, okay.
And in the book.
Oh, yes.
In the book, yes, in the book. She's talking about the movie.
Okay.
Kind of along those minimalist lines when she.
Yes.
But she had
Made that
always lived
comment.
at the orphanage, and then they took her to that temple, remember? And that was the first time she'd ever been to a temple.
I am just so thrilled that we can, I know we could keep talking for so long about this. That's what the wonderful thing is about this book, but we are running out of time. So I want to real quickly make sure that we do something very important, and that is to remind you to read the book, and hopefully you guys can all come to our event on March 28th to meet Conor Grennan, get an autograph, get a selfie. The students love that. You could get a photo opportunity. It's a wonderful, it's going to be a wonderful night. He is easy on the eyes. I'm just going to say that tactfully, and he seems. At 6 p.m. we're going to have an opening reception, and we're going to recognize the winners. We have a photography contest that's been going on, and it ends. The deadline is next week. If you're interested, we have information on that. I can give that to you. So we're going to announce winners of that, and we've had a book trailer contest with our students. So we're going to announce winners of that at the reception. We're going to have food, and we're going to recognize Conor, and then he will have his presentation at 7 p.m. and then a book signing in the Clemens in the Student Center following the presentation in the Clemens Theater. So between now and then, you have plenty of time still to read the book and finish the book if you haven't. The library here at McCracken County Public Library has copies in print and in audio, I believe, or ebook, I'm sorry. And then West Kentucky Community Technical College, we have copies to check out. You can certainly purchase the book from our bookstore as well. But tonight, we want to give away a couple copies. So we have 3 copies to give away. We did, hopefully everyone got a bookmark. Please, if you didn't, let us know. We have some more. But if you'll take your bookmark and flip it over,
Well, I didn't know I was supposed to tell
on the
you.
back side, I'm sorry. Bookmarks, do we have some more, Brian? He did not get a bookmark, thank you.
Because I got one at the movie.
I'm sorry. Well, on the back side, if you have a yellow round sticker on the cover of the book or near the cover of the book, it's a yellow round sticker, then you are a winner of a free book.
Yes, and if you don't need a copy, feel free to pass it on to
To a friend.
someone who does. Does anybody
Do you
else
have a yellow sticker? Okay, so we have one, 2, we have one more, we should have a third.
Anybody else
Does
have
anybody
yellow
have a yellow sticker on their bookmark? Are we sure?
Who does not have a book? How about that?
Who doesn't have a book or
Who
has
doesn't?
access to a book?
All right, sister.
Okay.
And I've got an extra too. So one
Okay.
for you.
Awesome.
Everybody's a winner.
Yay.
I feel like Oprah.
I know.
You get a book. You get a book.
Oh, man.
That is the best
I wish I could give
feeling.
everybody one.
So I've got Beyonce with the microphone.
Yes.
And then Oprah
We
with
didn't
the
dance for you
giveaway.
tonight, but, we don't want to do that. But thank you all so very much, especially for your support of the One Book Read and for literacy and just reading together as a community. It is so important, and we love that we have new participants every year. Please spread the word to your friends and family about this. It's all free, and we just want to bring that author to everyone just to talk about reading and the importance of reading, and it's going to be a great event with Conor Grennan, so we're thrilled to be having him.
Yeah, the only thing better than I think reading a book is reading it with other people and
Yes.
getting to talk to
That's
them
right.
about it. So,
That's right.
it's wonderful to share.